Georgia State, Charlotte, big game coming up for both of us. Finally getting to a second game. I know you've had a few cancellations, not as not quite like our cancellation, but still always fun. I saw Alabama was on the schedule, so you also missed out on a big payday like we did.
Our athletic director, athletic director Charlie Cobb has said we fully expect to get paid for that game that did not get played. And I've maintained the entire time until that check clears the bank account, Alabama forfeited to Georgia State.
That's fair.
You're going the UCF route, right? Are you going to put up a billboard about how y'all beat Alabama around Atlanta?
We're going to get that asterisk in the NCAA book like UCF did with their national championship.
Well, if they actually get the check to clear, they can put that up, that billboard up pretty cheaply, I guess.
Exactly.
Well, we got a big game this week, and Charlotte's gone through a lot over the week after playing top 25 App, who is no longer top 25 after they ran into one of our conference teams in Marshall. And we got COVID, and we didn't get to play the big in-state game we were excited about against Chapel Hill. But now we get this home opener. We're missing a quarterback, and it should be fun. Sean, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I think the big question mark is the quarterback. So Chris Reynolds day-to-day right now. Healy, I haven't heard committed one way or the other on whether we'll see Dom Schaffner in the backfield or actually get to see Chris Reynolds. It was pretty clear at the App State game. We chalked it up. We ran our last podcast before the report of injury came out, but we chalked it up to the rain and the weather. But it was clear something was wrong with Chris Reynolds during that game. So if he is able to go, it'll be interesting to see what percentage of health he's got there. Can he actually get the ball down the field this time? We should have pretty good weather, I think, looking towards the weekend, so that shouldn't be a factor there. And if he can't go, be interesting to see Dom Schaffner, transfer from Monroe College, who's done some pretty good work in his 2 seasons he's had, what he can lay down on the field, since the fans not getting spring practices to go to and stuff like that have not really gotten a chance to see him so far. 2 things you said there. We did get COVID, I guess. It was one offensive lineman testing positive one time, and then quarantine regulations says that anybody they're in contact with can't really play. So we just didn't have enough players to go to Chapel Hill. I know a lot of fans were disappointed about that. And that's a tough break, but you got to understand policies are in place for that purpose. And so as upset as you might be that we didn't play, and as unafraid as you are of COVID, it's difficult to go against conference regulations when you're coming up against something like that. But I think we should be good to go for this week, and excited to see how 2 0-1 teams, one from the Sun Belt, one from Conference USA, come up.
Yeah, and it saved us an L in the record book, because I'm pretty sure we'd be 0-2 right now. So, Dave, tell me about Georgia State. Just want to give everyone the prediction here. The line opened at +1, and it moved to Georgia State's favoring at -2.5 for this game.
Is it the 2.5? The last I saw was Georgia State -1. So obviously Vegas has no idea. It's a pick 'em game, pick your poison type thing. I think going into this season, the Georgia State fan base would have been very scared of this game. Charlotte looked like they were, going to come out and put some points on the board, and especially looking at that App State game, came out on fire, looked great. I was definitely scared of Charlotte, mostly because we had no idea what to expect out of Georgia State this season. Our all-star quarterback graduated, our badass running back graduated. Our defense has just been going downhill from year to year, with promises that it finally was going to make a turn this year. So we really had no idea what to expect. We were scared of this game. And then we welcomed in Louisiana Lafayette to our stadium to open up our season last week, come out with a quick 14-point lead. We pissed the game away late in the fourth quarter, actually in overtime, but it showed us some hope for this season. And I think the Georgia State fan base is really encouraged. And I was checking the Georgia State message board this morning, and there's some reasonable predictions out there, but the majority of the fan base is looking at a 10, 14-point minimum win by Georgia State. So I've been following this program long enough to know as soon as I get my hopes up, they come in there and they just dash those away from me, grab them away, throw them in the trash can. So my expectations are tepid, but I think we're in store for probably a pretty good game. And, I'm going to go ahead and have to say that my favor is Georgia State does win this game up in Charlotte.
Any point production there? Is it close to that line or is it blowout?
Well, it's not under the line. I'll tell you that much. I would say.
And the over-under opened at 59 and moved to 58.
Okay, yeah. Georgia State can definitely put some points on the board, it looks like, with this new quarterback, Quad Brown. No relation. And but our defense we still let Lafayette put up a lot of points. You guys have that big question mark on your quarterback. I heard that he was out indefinitely, but Sean, you make it sound like there's a chance he may be coming back this game. With the backup quarterback, Atlanta teams, and I'm speaking for all Atlanta teams, tend to not play well against backup quarterbacks. We get put in our place, I should say. So I don't know. I would say that if you're going to put me to the line there, I'm going to say let's go for a Georgia State 10-point win.
All right. Yeah, on the Reynolds front, it may be some gamesmanship by Coach Healy to say that he's questionable at this point because when it first came out, it did sound like it was going to be a longer-term thing. But getting an extra week off with not playing against Chapel Hill gave it a little more time, and so maybe he won't end up missing a game. We'll just have to see who trots out on the field. Right now on the depth chart, still seeing Chris Reynolds listed there as the starter for this week's game. So, maybe the plan is to be able to play him or maybe do at least limited reps there. Curious your take on Sean Elliott, your head coach. It's fourth season there, just under a winning record. They're 16-22 currently, and we've obviously run up against you guys twice. We've won one, you've won one. Ironically enough, both away teams won, but this year with no fans, I'm thinking that's not really going to play a factor there, and who knows who's going to take this one home.
Well, I'll tell you, playing games inside of Georgia State Stadium, it's been hard for us to get a large fan base out there. And our best year ever was last year, and we were plagued by 3 games with total downpour rainfall. So we're used to. I think our players were used to playing in empty stadiums. We've been socially distancing since we started football in 2010. And I'm not trying to put down the team or the fan base. It's just been you guys have been through a very similar type thing. It's not been the easiest road starting up a football program. You guys just a few years behind us, and I think you honestly have almost as many wins as we do. So it's not like you guys have been doing worse than us. You've been doing a better job than we have. But Coach Elliott, I was nervous about his hire when he came in. He was with South Carolina. He'd only head coached one win there. He lost to Citadel when he was head coach of South Carolina after Spurrier left. And he's an App State guy. Our athletic director is from App State. It feels like an old boys club, so we were a little nervous about that. I've had the chance to meet Sean a number of times, and just as good of a guy as you can meet, a competitive guy, obviously knows the game of football quite well. And he came in there that first year. We beat our in-state rival, Georgia Southern. We went to a bowl game. I'm like, all right, that's the correct hire. Hold on to this guy for a couple of years, and we'll be riding high. And then we win 2 games the following year. So it's like, all right, on the hot seat. Come back third year, all-star quarterback. We beat Tennessee up in Knoxville to open up the season and go to a bowl game. I like Sean Elliott as a person. As far as his coaching style and everything, I think this is going to be a big year to see whether or not we got that odd year coach, or we can get even and odd year coaches. So.
Yeah, unique scenario there with Georgia Southern and yourself both being in the Sun Belt. I bet that does make for a fun rivalry with more frequent games being guaranteed, given it in conference and in-state rivals. There
is absolutely nothing fun about playing Georgia Southern or that school even existing or having to pass through Statesboro on your way to Savannah. There is no love lost between these two fan bases. We despise each other before football was on our radar whatsoever at all. We will despise each other for a long time to come. Yeah, it's rough having in the same conference. That being said, if either one of us were to swap conferences or to move on to a different conference, I'm pretty sure that would become that regular out-of-conference in-state rivalry game. It's too heated. The stadium is packed. The stadium is packed for that game every other year. Same thing down there in Statesboro. They come out to that one. Our basketball games, they show up here. There's no way we're going to stop playing each other no matter what happens. The fan bases really do hate each other. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the questions I have for you guys is, Who is Charlotte's big rival? Who's that team that you really love to hate and they feel the same way about you guys?
You want to answer first, Scott?
Well, I think the team we love to hate that they don't care about us at all is Chapel Hill. So that's why that game that didn't happen was kind of disappointing. I would say on the basketball front, because I would say we're still more of a basketball school as we build into this football program. Davidson is definitely our go-to rival in state that we love to hate, and we want to beat them every year, and we play for a cup. Football, I think the app thing is starting to develop. The only thing that's unfortunate is we don't play them again until 2026, and then we have a regular back and forth, I think, starting in 2030. So that kind of makes it a little tough to get that going. But I definitely think app is who we want to be a rival, but by the time we get to play them again, I think we're going to be too big for them.
See, I think that let's hope you are. Let's hope you are. No, I think that Charlotte and Georgia State, this should be kind of a natural rivalry. The two cities are pretty close to each other. We have pro teams that play against each other twice a season. We started football around this same time. As of right now, like you said, Sean, we've both got away wins, no home wins yet. This is the beginning of a 4-game series between the two programs. I think maybe in 4 years, we're talking about a big rivalry between Charlotte and Georgia State. I'd be on board for that. I think it'd be a good one to have. I love Charlotte. I love going up there. So that's a definite road trip for me when we play up there, when we can have fans up there.
Yeah, I love picking teams with like 30% all-time win records as my rival, so it's an easier win. No, but in all seriousness, I think that's actually a great idea, and it's tough to answer your question. So I think every fan will give you a different answer as to who the rival is, because you guys are familiar with it. Like you said, you're 3 years ahead of us football-wise, so not too far down the road. But those first few years, especially when you're not at FBS level and you're building it up, you're not really getting any rivalries there. And then when you're finally in FBS level, your conference games are happening, and then you may have one team who can be a pretty regular. But we've been very aggressive with trying to ensure we schedule bigger than we are. So that's involved, Tennessee running through a schedule. We played them last year, played a hard game actually, and defense was really the winner that day and kept them to basically one field goal, one real touchdown that wasn't on a special teams play. And so we were supposed to play them this year again. That got canceled because of COVID. We've been scheduling Chapel Hill. We've had them on the books. We have Virginia Tech on the books as our first real big opponent, but they got scared and bailed out.
We played Clemson.
And, we played Clemson last year.
We've got the Gators on the schedule. We've got some good ones. But as do you guys, obviously.
But that makes it tough to get a good rivalry, right? So our conference, that's the difficulty of being in Conference USA. There's not really any good close opponents for us. ODU is probably the closest, and they've not been great at football. They even just gave up on football this year. So
gave up the entire season.
Yeah.
So I actually went up to the game when we played you guys. I think it was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that. So I went up there to that game, and I had a great time. It happened to be kind of a perfect storm. My wife wanted to visit a friend, and we had like a 9-month-old kid. And she's like, "Here, how about we drive up there? I drop you off at the game, and you just Uber back later." So I was flying solo out there at your stadium, and I had a great time. Great little tailgating area right there around the stadium. I saw a lot of students, just carrying their cases of beer over there. That was great. There was an alumni event set up for us not too far away, and the stadium obviously, is a smaller stadium, but it was nice. I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Has anything changed over those years with the layout and the stadium and that whole experience?
Still as beautiful as ever. We've got opportunity to be able to expand to 35,000 seats easy, but obviously you need to justify that with the fan base before you can really build it. But I think that's very soon to come, and probably waiting for the right play to try and partner with that, with maybe conference realignments or any other stuff that may warrant seeing that bigger stadium.
And I think the big addition, which I'm not sure if you all do, is they added alcohol sales last season, where people could get beer and wine inside the stadium and not sit in a specific area, but actually bring it back to their seat, which seemed to go over pretty well. And I think there was a plan to continue that this year because nothing terrible happened.
We had the beauty of starting off in the Georgia Dome, so being a privately owned stadium. They're like, if you're going to be here, we're going to sell booze and you're going to like it. So when we bought the old Brave Stadium, it was just foregone conclusion. We've been having beer at all of our games, so we're going to continue having beer at our games. And it's at a limited capacity than what it was before, but yeah, it's gone over well. And I think it's a trend in college football now. It's like more and more teams, more and more stadiums are realizing how much money there is to be made in those alcohol sales, and how many people stay away because they'd rather be outside drinking, watching on their satellite TV versus making the trek into the stadium where they got to pay, or we can't drink beer. So,
yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing about Atlanta and Charlotte. A lot of people up here will always love Atlanta just for the Braves, like myself. So
yeah, I actually have the Braves game on right now. We're up 2-0. If we win, we clinch the East for the third year in a row. Sorry to change subjects there, but
you're good.
I got to keep it going.
No question. Not even worried about that one. Those Phillies are.
Well, this is a game against the Marlins, but
no, I know. I'm just saying that everybody thinks the Phillies coming into it with the roster they have are going to blow us out of the water, and then they haven't the past 3 years.
Right. So you guys asked me my prediction on the game. What is y'all's take? You guys came in, like I went back and looked at some preseason rankings and predictions, and you guys were predicted this was going to be a win on your schedule. This was supposed to be a Charlotte win. After that App State game, like I said before, I was really scared. Where do you guys stand today on the game?
I think Reynolds being out really hurts us, but I think it makes it unpredictable. We'll see what our backup quarterback can do. I think our running backs are very strong, so I think we're going to see heavy run in this game. We also have really good wide receivers, so I think if Coach Carney can really draw up the X's and O's and get creative, I think we can still put points on the board. But it's just we don't know what we don't know, and we've gone through a lot of quarterbacks, and this was the first one we've had that confidence in that. This guy is definitely going to give us at least 2 or 3 touchdowns today. Not sure what we're going to get out of that. I'm hoping for the best, and I think our defense really showed that they can make some plays against App, and our special teams looked a million times better in that one game than they have over the last 2 or 3 seasons. So, got to be a homer here. I think Charlotte wins, but I think the spread really Vegas is always right, and I think Charlotte wins by a field goal. Tight game.
Ooh. I think that's a bad take. I think it's like a 10-point game in our favor, and here's why. So we've got a week of rest. We had kind of a perfect scenario of get a game under your belt to see what it's like, get an extra week to prep, figure out what your holes were, get aligned on everything. And the whole team wasn't quarantined, so they could obviously still have practice and game plan, game film, all of that stuff. And like Scott said, so if you're wondering, imagine you're not watching Charlotte game tape all day long, but our running backs, Trey Harbison, who's new this year, and Aaron McAllister, who's been around the block for us, are both crushing it. Aaron McAllister had the longest kickoff return for a touchdown in school history against App. Looked really good. Didn't do a ton in the backfield, but he may have just been tired from that run. Who knows? And then our wideouts, if Dom Schaffner has to go and can get the ball to him, I mean, we've got 5 or 6 threats that can all get down the field in a hurry. So that's really tough to defend when you've got that many different options to get the ball in their hands, and a lot of backfield schemes with some jet sweeps and things like that to keep you guessing on defense.
That is one advantage I'll definitely give to the Niners in this game, is having that extra week off. As bummed as they guys had to have been about not playing, especially not playing in-town team UNC, getting that extra week to rest, but that extra week to practice and game prep and prepare, especially if Reynolds is not going to be taking snaps, to have that backup quarterback, to have that extra week to really get in there and get familiar and get prepared for it. That definitely is an advantage for the Niners. That being said, I think the way that Georgia State lost that game against a ranked opponent last week, the guys are hungry, the coaching staff is hungry, and they're going to want to come out and make a statement out of this game. No pun intended, but make a statement.
So who are the key players we need to watch out for on the Georgia State side of things?
It's really going to come down to the quarterback and the running back. It's going to be Quad Brown, who was our backup last year, redshirt freshman, who we had a lot of question marks on, but he's a 6'5", 220, 230-pound guy. You'll notice him out there. We did not know what to expect, but we got some great play out of him last week, and I think that's only going to get better going into this week. And then Destin Coates is our running back, and it was pretty much the Coates and Brown show last week. I think out of our all of our snaps, there was only 3 other rushing attempts. Now, one of those was for a touchdown, but 3 other rushing attempts by 2 of the other running backs. So it's going to be those 2 guys. If they can, not wear themselves out too much, because that was part of what happened at the end of the fourth quarter last week. If they can not wear themselves out too much, I think we got a good shot. That being said, Quad's still young. He's still having a hard time reading these defenses. And if you can get your defensive line after him really quick and a quick pass rush, you can put some pressure on him, and maybe he'll make some bad decisions. And who knows? And I know that's the gimme, the quarterback and the running back. But for your listeners, our podcast is way less about the X's and O's and more about the, man, did you see that hit? That was really awesome. We know very little about the actual game of football, other than we like it when our team scores more than your team.
Hey, that's all you need right there. And I think calling out the running back, even if that is the obvious play for you, that was a big weakness of ours against App State. We had trouble stopping the run. They had 3 different rushers going, crazy on us for a while. And we've got a pretty good front 4 on defense. So would like to see them hold up a little bit better this time around. And we know they're capable of getting home to the quarterback and putting pressure on him, making difficult throws. So we'll see how that goes. But, as easy it is to call QB and running back, those are 2 pretty impact players that you got to be able to contain if you want to see a win go up on the board.
Yeah, also, I will say, if you have to hold us down to kicking, we still have a big question mark on our field goal kicker. He's new this year. He came in from some FCS school, I forget. But he only kicked 1 field goal, one attempt at all last week, and that was in the overtime. So he does not have a lot of experience at the FBS level kicking the ball. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you can keep us out of the end zone, then you may have a good shot at playing some special teams against the kicking game.
Yeah, and I would say on our side, we've got a really good kicker, and our defense is very bend but don't break. So I definitely see big plays coming in there and you guys getting in the red zone, and that's when our defense usually steps up, whether it's a forced turnover or bringing you to 4th down. We'll see what happens. But we're excited about the game. ESPNU, so that's exciting, getting more televised games for both programs, so that's cool.
At noon, how do you guys feel about noon games?
I would care if I was tailgating, since I can't tailgate. Noon's as good as any other time.
Exactly. Are they actually, at the beginning of the season, Charlotte said they were not going to allow fans in the stands for this game. Has that changed, or is that still the case?
That's
still correct. The case.
And actually,
but it should change soon. Yeah. The governor just moved us to phase 3 starting October 2nd. So it looks like we'll probably be able to get some fans after that. But currently, no fans in the stands.
Except 7% capacity.
Yeah.
So 7% is not huge, especially when you're talking about 15,000 seats. So
right.
It'll still feel like there's no fans even in the future when there are. But I'm sure the lucky fans who get to go will be very appreciative for anybody not afraid of the COVID.
Well, I think that's all the questions I had for you guys this week.
Yeah, we appreciate you stopping by. It was great to get to know you. Good to see a fellow podcast out there. For anybody who wants to keep up with Georgia State on the side, feel free to check out State of Atlanta. And as always, to come to Minor Obsession for your Charlotte 49ers sports needs. We have a special way to end it. I know this isn't probably the colors you root for, but on our side of things, we always remember to wear green.
Go Niners. And hopefully we'll get to see you in person for next year's game, and maybe we could do a live podcast for all the fans out there.
I love it. If we end up seeing each other in basketball, let's do it again then too. So
yeah,
as we say, light it blue.